So I thought we would start with a sit together, and I'm going to do a little bit of guiding here at the beginning of the sit to sort of get you oriented. And if you need to now turn the camera off or move into a different position or something, please feel free to do that. And I will lead us in a certain direction that sort of relates to the talk. And as in with all guided meditations, some people prefer to just do their practice in their familiar way, and you're welcome to do that. Nobody will know or be offended. So, but if you'd like, you can sort of follow along the first part and I will be sort of orienting us towards the theme that I'm talking about later. Okay, so go ahead and find your posture that is comfortable for you. That could be sitting in your chair, sitting on your cushion. You're also welcome to lay down if that's a better posture for you. There's no right way. And just take the first few moments to feel your posture, feel your body, feel how your body is arranged, how the hands contact your lap or each other or your legs. And feel how your buttocks join the ground, whether it be chair or floor. Feel how your legs are positioned. Feel the relationship of your head, your spine, and start to have a sense of yourself suspended in this way that we are between the ground, rooted on earth, connected to ground, and rising up, surrounded by air and space around and above you. Feel as you breathe in this air that is all around. Breathing in this air that is the activator of life, the animator. Breathing it in to this solidity that you are, this combination of earth and water. Here you are suspended between earth and sky, being breathed by air. And let yourself feel more fully the nature of your ground beneath you. Let yourself first feel the contact of your legs and buttocks. Feel the sense of gravity, this pull, this hug of the earth pulling you towards her. And let your attention, perhaps by going down into the earth and spreading out like roots going out, let yourself feel and sense the places beyond your walls. Most of us, I see, are inside right now, but we're not contained or limited by that insideness. Let your attention expand out with the ground, out to the space outside of you, outside of the building you're in. Sense the living world, the trees, the plants, whatever is particular to your location. You might even purposefully let images for a moment come into your mind as you sense out in all four directions. Where do you sit? And as you sit here, let yourself recognize that you and the other beings, people, plants, other creatures, innumerable ones, all of them are sitting in this space, and this space can go out further. It might just go just outside your building, or it might go way out. Perhaps there's a certain direction that you travel most, or that where you go for walks. And let yourself include that. Let your sense of space be as expansive as naturally happens. So through the ground, you're connected out through the breath too. This breath that is right here in this room is changing constantly, interchanging with all the air and all the creatures and plants that are breathing around you. So too, on a longer scale, but not so long, the water that is here inside your skin is the water perhaps that came from your tap. But that is not where it came from. It came from some stream or spring or river. Do you know where your water came from? And from there, it didn't just start there. It came from the rain, from the cloud. It came from the heat on the ocean, rising up and bringing it on shore. And then it falling down once again and coming into your body in a very temporary way, simply flowing through you like an eddy in a river for a short time before it passes back out. You are just part of this flow of water coming and going. And so, too, with the food you eat, the earth that comes in through each bite nourishes the cells in your body, brings the energy of the sun right into your body through the bite that you eat. You are solar powered. You are earth run. And it just comes and metabolizes the waste moving through every cell in your body, changing constantly, being fed and nourished and replenishing and sloughing off. Nothing static, nothing actually yours, nothing permanent here. Just the flow of the water and the earth and the air, all being powered by the sun and the movements of this wild and animate earth. And as I say these words, let yourself take it in, not just into your mind and into your thoughts. Let yourself feel this body, feel the breath, feel the belly, the elements moving through. What would it be just for these few moments to recognize that you are completely embedded and connected in everything that is happening? And though sometimes it's harder to see on just a moment's notice, but you can allow as the thoughts come through your mind, recognizing that those thoughts are not being created inside your mind out of a void. Those thoughts too are flowing in from the world all around us, from the things people have said and you've read and what you've seen. The mind too is a constant flow, mixing and churning all the pieces that have come in all the way back from as long as you could hear or see. It's all coming through. You don't actually create any of it out of a void or out of a nothing. It's all mixed and changed, just like the water that flows through. What if you let those thoughts come and go just the way you let the water flow down your throat and through your body and back out again? Well, I want to invite you for the remainder of the sit, and I'll be silent. Just let yourself see what allows you to connect most easily with this constant sense of being in flow. There might be one element that allows it, there might be just a general sense. What allows you in this moment, this particular moment in time, to dissolve into this animate, constant, and permanent changing world? Notice if the flow of experience has somehow been stopped, if you've clenched around a particular thought, if the body has drooped into stillness and then into sleep. Notice if you can find that balance between the earth, the relaxation, the resting, and the alertness, the rising up, the being here, participant, alive. Oh, if you'd like to take a moment to stretch or move, looks like the bell was audible, which is good. Um, then just sort of let yourself slowly come back. If you need to move your body for a moment, please feel free to do that. And feel free to do that anytime, in fact. This Zoom thing hasn't changed. It's still a lot of sitting and staring at little boxes. So when I said I would accept your invitation to come talk to you, it was a long time ago, and I said I would talk about the natural world, the relationship, and uh, resilience and refuge that the natural world offers. As you'll see, due to the times we're in, my talk today has a slightly different um, angle to it, but is still very much, I think the natural world has so much to teach us if we just listen, if we recognize what's there. And that I think is more true than ever, that we have so much to learn and to recognize in our world that is becomes available to us when we listen deeply into the world. And I was recently walking just a couple days ago. I went on a backpack trip and was in the desert here near Moab in this really beautiful place. And it was a deep canyon with water running down it and beautiful riparian vegetation. And I had a real sense of ease and calm as I was walking. And the one of the things I really like about where I live is the massive amount of exposed rock that if you have seen any pictures from southeastern Utah, you know that the predominant feature is rock. Some places the predominant feature might be trees or, you know, rolling hills or brush, but here it's rock. But one of the things about rock is that if you start to pay attention to it, there's a vast sense of time right there in front of you. And the sandstone that is the predominant rock here not only has a vast sense of time, just in that it's rock and it's been around and sandstone was sand dunes and edge of ocean that have been compressed and uplifted and changed over time. There's also a sense of the activity that was present then and all the way between then and now. The sandstone is all these beds, all the striations of each individual layer getting put down again and again over time, and sometimes radical changes. And then these sort of the base rock of this bedding, and then it gets uplifted and eroded and a canyon through it. And so it's like you can just see layers and layers of time. And in the midst of all this sandstone, there can be fossils of dinosaur footprints and other plants and petrified wood. And so embedded in this time is not just the earth, but all the other beings that we predated us and that really we have all been co-evolving with this rock. As long as this rock has been moving and changing, we, the living part of the world, has been co-evolving with it, moving and changing and coming and going. I want to read you just a couple of first part of a poem from Rosemary Wachula Tromer. What different thing. No, I was going to read the whole, most of the poem. This is what it says. The one great story. There are so many ways to hold and be held, like the way a woman holds a canyon in her heart. Its red rock cliffs and snow thick spruce, even as the canyon holds her. And when I hold silence and offer it my whole attention, I feel how silence holds me, cradles me with such profound nothing, it becomes everything. What if we assume we belong? What if we assume we belong? Then we might find we are held by strands of birdsong, by the even beat of eagle's wings, by the blue moonlight that reflects off the snow. I somehow didn't learn until recently. Real belonging asks nothing of me except I offer myself exactly as I am. I become more myself when I trust I am held as much by shadow as by light, held by the one shared breath, by the one infinite song, held by soil, held by sky, held even by the human longing to be held by the one great story from which our lives cannot be unwritten. So, this embeddedness, this belonging that I think many of us, when we go for a walk, when we go outside, we start to come in contact with that. We are so much the natural world, and the natural world, whether for you it's the trees or the ocean, invites us to recognize that we are part of this one great story. And it's not just the natural world that is the one great story. It is also our human world, our human component of this one great story. And when we see and recognize this interconnectedness, this co evolving, and if we're willing to step into that, it's possible to start to sense how the difficult conditions that we are in right now, and we can't deny the difficulty of those conditions, but they are the part of the result. They are the result of an infinite causes and conditions of this interconnected one great story, that the conditions we are in are the natural outflow of the great story that we're in. It's not that something has gone awry. This is the story that we're in. And this is one aspect of this is karma, or kamma is the Pali word. And so I want to talk a little bit this evening about kamma and to recognize that one of the gifts of kamma, of its recognition and explanation, and the Buddha's speaking of the causes and conditions that come together, is to help us recognize that we are in this one great story together. And we don't need to run from it or hide from it, but we do have the possibility of responding to it. So, karma or karma is sometimes misunderstood as a kind of condemnation, like, oh, well, that's your bad karma. I mean, how often does karma get, maybe sometimes it gets paired with your good karma, but sort of, there's often sort of this sort of trying to pin it. pin the blame on it or pin the cause on it. And that's an oversimplification of what karma is. And rather than see it as this where we can pin the cause or pin the blame, it's more understood as when we sense into it, and I'll talk about it more, it's creating an opportunity that when we start to feel the causes and conditions coming together in this moment and our embeddedness in it, it's creating a sense of possibility and opportunity for how we respond and move forward from there. It's what makes our spiritual path possible. It's what makes it possible for us to change in our lives is because the actions and intentions of a given moment that have all come together can be met and gone forward. And I'll break that down a little bit more. But the ultimate thing about it is the point that our actions matter. That's what's the most important thing about is that what we do matters. And it's interesting, the Dalai Lama at one point was asked, what's the most important thing to understand, emptiness or karma? And he said, karma is way more important to understand than emptiness. Because he said, without that, the liberative teachings of emptiness can be misunderstood and misused because lots of emphasis on emptiness. And there's a kind of in our culture, in our Dharma culture right now, it's easy to be kind of fascinated and be drawn towards emptiness. But it can lead, if it's not paired with the wisdom of karma, it can lead to a sense of aloofness, a kind of non duality that approaches non existence. And if you might remember, the Buddha taught that neither extreme, this is what he spoke about as the middle way, neither existence nor non existence, that there's neither relative, or only absolute. So the other way of saying that is sort of conventional and absolute, or emptiness and activity. And I like the word relative. Some people don't, but the word relative is wonderful because it speaks to being related. It speaks to kinship, relationship, embeddedness, aliveness, affecting and impacting each other. We are related in this relative world. And the world happens in the manifest, in the dynamic, interrelated flow of impermanence and activity. And karma is speaking to this dynamic nature of things. And I wanted to read you another short quote from a film from Rosemary, which will Latromer. Just the first line. It says, inside it all, beneath the mask, beneath the names, beneath ideals, beneath the shoulds, is a thrumming, ecstatic, atomic swirl, unseen and omnipresent, inescapable and holy, a divine blurring of being, a realm of charge and energy, most of it empty space. Sometimes I remember this. And this aliveness. So, one challenge with karma, the reason that we sometimes narrow it down and start to pin blame and stuff on it is that there's a misunderstanding that everything is happening because of karma. And it's not, the Buddha didn't say that at all. In fact, he said that that was an overreach. And there was a place where he answered a question from, and for those of you, this is in the Sutta Nikaya, 36.21, if there's any sutta geeks here. And this is from the Malisavika Sutta. And what happens is Malisavika comes to the Buddha and asks him a question. That's how it always happens. Just a note, all the suttas are all about relatedness, about being in this flow. Somebody asks the question, the Buddha answers. It's all about relationship. And the Buddha spoke to this related activity all the time. And this is what and so this person asks, um, is whatever has happened, whatever one experiences, be it pleasant or painful or neither pleasant nor unpleasant, all that is caused by all this been caused by what one has done in the past. And the Buddha says, whatever a person, those who view things this way, it's hard to summarize suttas, but um, those who view things in this way, that whatever a person experiences, whether it be pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant, all that is caused by what has been done in the past. They overshoot what one knows by oneself, and they overshoot what is considered to be true in the world. Therefore, I say that this is wrong on the part of the ascetics and the Brahmins who are saying that. Not everything is because of the actions of a person. And he goes on in another place. I found this very helpful. He talks about this in the niyamas. And he's saying there's a lot more that happens than our personal or collective karma, meaning our actions and intentions. He says there are physical laws, and there's 5 niyamas. The physical laws, which is like the seasons, chemistry, physics. There's biological laws, like an oak tree sprouts from an acorn. That's nobody's fault or nobody's determination or intention. That's just simply a law of the world. Like there's gravity, there's physical laws, there's biological laws. Actually goes on to say there's psychological laws about the way the mind works, the way it unfolds, and that these are not the result specifically of your actions or intentions. They're the nature of the human mind. And then he says there's kamma niyama. So this is actually the fourth of the laws. Your actions and your intentions play into all these other things that happen, the seasons, the earthquakes, the weather, the tsunamis, the way the mind works, the way everybody else's mind works, the way animals move, and then there's also your intentions and your own action. And then the fifth one is the natural truth, the natural laws of the way things are. And these often include the Dharma, things like the Four Noble Truths. Like, this is the way it is. Like, you do something that is mean and unkind, and somebody's going to suffer. And so it's interesting to note that karma is really important, but causes and conditions that come together are much, much bigger than just that, than just our actions. And I think this is a very important thing to, that's why I'm emphasizing it so much when we talk about karma, because it keeps us from getting into a place of blame or over ownership of what happens. And in fact, the Buddha says that karma, as it comes together, as conditions come together in the present moment, including our karma, that it is one of the four imponderables. And the others are the power of the Buddha's mind, the power of the concentrated mind, and um, speculations about the universe. And then how karma works, the results of karma. These are all imponderable. And if you contemplate them too much and too hard, you will go crazy. That's what the Buddha, that was the warning from the Buddha. So if you start speculating about the universe, he warned you. So out of all these laws and physics things, the one that we do have as individuals and cultures the most impact on, though we're having plenty of impact on we do impact physics and, you know, these days climate and that, but that all comes from the action that we do. And that's where our what we do is affecting the future causes and conditions that come down. And we are sitting in the midst of the actions and intentions that have come before us. Can we, in this moment, sit here and let ourselves take in the way there's all this history, all sorts of different things have happened way back, those beds in the sandstone, and what somebody all the way up to what somebody said to you right before you came on Zoom, and including what we're saying right now. It's like, it's this huge I like to think of it as this vast, ever expanding pyramid that's like going out, and it's all coming together into this moment right here. It's like a huge hourglass, that shape. And in this moment, it all comes together right here. And then what we do, how we respond in this moment, then opens out into what happens from here. And it all happens right here on this point where all these conditions come together. And then from here, they expand out again. Yeah, I see if that image works for you. And to let ourselves be porous, to let all this come through us. Again, a quote from Rosemary, this invitation to be wildly open, this invitation to be porous, the way birdsong is porous, this invitation to feel it all, the way skin feels it all when I slip into a blue alpine lake. To recognize how vulnerable we are and to give ourselves away. To recognize that all these moments are coming into this moment and to feel it all and to recognize the next moment it all flows through again. And right now, the nature of our world, our access to information, the things that are happening right now, we sit in the midst of so much. The current political climate, the environmental crisis, the climate change that is impacting. I can't imagine you guys. I know some fires and all that have been happening in San Diego, and here it's like hot, and then it's drier than ever in the desert, and we sit in the midst of it all, and this comes from this long playing out of causes and conditions all coming together, and the human activity interacting with the natural laws. And sometimes we are astonished that we haven't been able, that we can't fix things. We can't change them and make them better right now. But when we realize how much comes together, the way all the way from the sandstone and the animals and all the activities of so many people, we can feel the sense of momentum that comes. It doesn't diminish our responsibility for responding in this moment, but it gives us a broader view of time and space and some sense of understanding of the vastness of what's here in this moment. And karma is spoken of specifically as volitional activity, as the activity, the action with intention with which we respond to right what is right here. It's coming into this moment and then individually, collectively, culturally, familial, we respond with intention. So the past intentions and past actions come into this moment. And then there's a present moment intention that responds to all of that and moves into action. So karma refers both to the intentional action and this general law of cause and effect. So can you feel this is where all this sort of natural law starts to intersect with our practice? Why it's important that we practice, why it's important that we pay attention to our mind, and so that we have the capacity to meet the moment that we are presented with. So that as all this comes into right here, we can respond. The first lines of the Dhammapada, and this is Gil Fronsdale's transi translation, is all about intention. It says, "All experience is preceded by mind, led by mind, made by mind. Speak or act with a corrupted mind, and suffering follows as the wagon wheel follows the hoof of the ox. All experience is preceded by mind, led by mind, made by mind. Speak or act with a peaceful mind, and happiness follows like a never departing shadow." So even though we don't speak about karma sort of having good or being good or bad, there is wholesome and unwholesome activity, intention that then generates the karma as we move forward. And karma is like planting seed that eventually grow and bear fruit. Each action that we take has many results. Have you noticed that? And some of them are completely unanticipated. And we often can't tell whether the results from our certain thing we said are good or bad. I you probably have this experience too. I mean, I just had the experience somebody I knew was meditating and but struggling with it and so we talked and I gave him some ideas and now it's about 5 years later and he came to me and he said, "I want to tell you about my adventure in meditation." And he told me all these different teachers he'd listened to and how great his practice was and all this. And it's like I just talked to him a little. And it was just a seed, a well intentioned seed that could have waited 30 years to sprout, or it could have been 5 years, or it could have happened. But we don't know. We just do what we do, we offer what we can. And we understand in this, in if you're familiar with the Satipatthana Sutta, this is, if you're not, don't worry about it. But what I'm going to say still can make sense. Is that in the fourth foundation of that, what that whole aspect is about is seeing processes, seeing how one moment affects the next, just as I've been describing. That how a hindrance affects the next moment of our thought. How an understanding and seeing clearly suffering gives us the opportunity to respond and see the cause of that suffering and the release of that suffering. Each one of those is that moment when everything comes together and we're responding to it with clarity, with wisdom, and intentionally meeting that and moving forward. the what all this then consolidates down to is that taking responsibility for that moment and recognizing that what we do matters. How we respond each moment matters. And this can be both empowering and a little bit intimidating that, like, every moment is an opportunity. And how are you meeting that opportunity? In the suttas, it says, I am the owner of my karma. I inherit my karma. I am born of my karma. I am related to my karma. I live supported by my karma. Whatever karma I create, whether good or evil, that I shall inherit. It's like we live in this world of causes and conditions. What we do matters. And there are, connected with karma, 10 wholesome and 10 unwholesome of body, speech, and mind. I'm not going to go into the details of those just because of timing, but you can look up the 10 wholesome and the 10 unwholesome. You can figure out what they are. Don't steal, don't kill, things like that. Be generous, renounce. I, and that's what's so beautiful. We know goodness resonates with us. Goodness is already here in our hearts. And if we pay attention to that, we know how to respond. And I want to say a little bit how karma plays out and how you can see it in a moment to moment word. And I'm going to use generosity as an example because it's just a lovely thing. Before we have a moment of generosity, before we act it out, we can feel it. We can recognize it. It has immediate effect right there. It's instant karma. We feel good. It resonates with our heart. And then while we're doing the action and or having the thought even, we experience that feeling of opening the heart, of giving of ourselves. And then after it, we can remember it. And we can remember that act and we can feel how that is in our body, in our hearts. And the Buddha has wonderful instructions to Rahula where he tells Rahula, pay attention to what you do, whether it's skillful or unskillful, have remorse and ask for forgiveness. If it's unskillful, enjoy it and cultivate it if it's wholesome. And then the karma, it's sort of like then it starts to branch out, right? There's this right in the moment in your own heart and mind. But then the karma, we can start to see how it affects the world if we're kind and generous to people around us with our words, with our actions. Interesting. We start to find that we live in a kinder world. People are kind to us. It does change things. And we notice if we are generous and kind, our minds change. The habitual state of our mind, that thing, what wires together, fires together, or what fires together, wires together. I guess it's that way. But patterns of thinking, of being generous, of being kind, it is changing us. And this thing, you are always practicing something. I've really noticed, here's an example I'd like to offer is that um, I really notice in my mind, and it can come out in my actions and in my speech, when I other, when I distance somebody or some group or some anonymous person I don't even know, and I have some story of other, and I forget that we're in the same world together. And when I pay attention, and I've been doing it a lot, to that action and cut it off, then I notice there's repercussions. My heart feels kinder. I don't get into that righteous state of I know and they're wrong. I'm more open to understanding. I'm curious. There's a whole lot of possibility that comes out when this simple activity of othering, I drain the energy out of it. Each condition, each moment conditioning the next. And just as a side, very important side light, but not where I'm dwelling this evening, as we do that, we are opening the possibility of this flow and recognizing that we are not in the I, that we are the element of not self, of freedom, of being in the flow opens up to us. So when we look at what's happening in our world right now, the wars, and political, the climate, the marginalization of people, I mean, there's so much. And historians can look back and they can sort of name various pieces that have come together. But in our practice, what we're most interested in is this point where it all comes together. That, like the plants, like the canyons, us, we're all coming to this point and we're all in it together. It's not a conspiracy against anybody, it's causes and conditions. And, the truth of it is, we live in a country that was founded by white land owning men in a country that condoned enslaving people and that was on land that was occupied by force and stolen and trick and greed from people who previously had it. Of course, there are karmic results from that. Of course, this is part of what rises into this moment. And so it's not simple. It's a complicated thing. We have to recognize, like the bedded layers in the sandstone, that this is embedded into where we are. And that isn't, and it's slow. It all moves at the pace of the sandstone eroding, I'm sorry to say. And so to acknowledge that the conditions are not something gone wrong. It's the natural laws all coming together. And to be willing to sit in the midst of that and take full responsibility for how we act in this moment. Because karma is about looking forward, not looking back. Nobody deserves something, even though, we wish that people who did unwholesome things got somehow struck down. We can notice that doesn't actually, that's not, there's not some uh, great evening out of the plate in the short term. And we can see that people who have unwholesome things done to them don't, unfortunately, as much as we wish it to be otherwise, don't somehow get made right and whole in some short term way. That's not, it's just like gravity works like gravity. It doesn't, because somebody's falling out of the sky, all of a sudden think, oh, I don't want to hurt that person. Gravity will now stop. It's not like that. This is the way causes and conditions unfold. But we can still act in a wholesome way in response to it. We can drop the centralizing of the I's or the we's, the individual. We can open ourselves to this flow. We can recognize that we're part of all of it, that we're in the stream that is moving, that is constantly happening. And it's happening without an I, without a me, but it is in change and we are a participant. And the natural understanding the natural unfolding that happens when we see karma in this way, when we really understand causes and conditions, is the compassion of the heart. That we are out of the place of blame. We are out of the place of things should be different. We're out of resistance. And instead, we can have the capacity to sit in the midst of it all with this long view, with this broad and open and compassionate and active, animated heart. And we can respond to that. So I'll read you a poem and a thank you letter to my heart, again from Rosemary. Thank you, heart, for breaking open every time you hear of the throbbing ache of war, the devastation of hunger, the agony of humans choosing to hurt each other. May you always break. May you never grow callous enough that you listen to news of bombs and betrayals as if you were listening to the weather report. Thank you, heart, for letting yourself be stunned by joy at the slightest of beauties, by the silting gray hop of the bunny, the pink pucker of grapefruit, the crimson blush of amaryllis, as the tepious Bergian against the green bud. Though the mind longs to organize, you thrive on surprising me, like the way you rise up for the same rain I once reviled, like the way you crave the silence that I once feared, like the ways you have taught me to love the parts of me I once thought were unlovable. For all the times I have forgotten to say thank you, forgive me. I am still learning. I will forget how to love and forget to thank you again. But here on the edge of who I will be, here I am, open as I know how, gratefulness growing, pushing against my own green. Thank you all. That's what I wanted to offer this evening. And I'm open for comments and questions and anything anybody wants to say. It could be directly related to this and it could be different. It doesn't what's on your heart and mind right now? See what's here. Great, Michelle.
Um, I don't know if it's a question or a comment, but I would like any reflection that you have. The more I think about comma and the freedom that being able to be present gives you, to respond, it's really delightful. I mean, I'm trying to dwell more and more there during the day, during my life. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I don't. Um, but that image of sort of the flat rock, like everything coming into the moment, what I'm trying to embrace and have been trying to embrace is that I am not Michelle. I am you and everybody here. I'm the sunshine and the food. I am the political force that is something I don't love. I am as much the people and the things in this world that I rally against as I am other than that,
Yeah.
and so the more I can embrace that, especially the things I find the most hideous and be like, "Oh yeah, that's in here too." There's something about that that I'm trying to wrestle with, and I mean, it's it's the other piece of not getting too hooked into the becoming, which is what I've been thinking a lot about. But it's also like embracing the things that I find rather detestable and being like, oh, yeah, I'm that too. So I'm just curious, like, how you see that as far as comma. So it doesn't become like me doing it, it's Michelle doing it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just said it beautifully, that to recognize that we're in this whole flow that includes everything. It includes everything. And to recognize that is to um, dissolve the self, right? The self can't possibly contain all of that. It can't set up walls around that. You know, and to feel that breaking down, especially with what is difficult or detestable, as you say, is very threatening to the self. So I think it's really good to recognize the resistance we can have to that and how natural that is. No, I don't want to let that in. And but to recognize that porosity that I read, you know, that we're just as porous and that flows through just the same way as it all does. And one thing that can help with this is it depends on your view, but what I notice is that goodness resonates with us. That and this, though a kind of roundabout proof, is the way that goodness and wholesomeness resonates with us, that makes us happy, that makes us relax, can give us the support that there is a kind of goodness and benevolence in the world. That when we do mean things, it doesn't feel good. And so even though we can let those difficult and detestable things flow through us, they are not going to tear down. They are not, they cannot overwhelm the basic goodness, which is the true nature of things. And I think that's what sometimes we fear as we let that in, that somehow it's going to take away the goodness. And it can't. That's built into. Does that help? Mm, thanks, Michelle. Anybody else? Comments? Yeah, Jason.
Yeah, hi, it's Kason. Sorry, I'm having trouble raising my hand on Zoom.
Yeah, you did it perfectly.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the talk, Susie, and so nice to hear you again. I wanted to comment on a couple of things that you said. I really appreciated in the meditation. You said the word dissolve, which was just perfect for me. Just trying to dissolve into the flow versus resisting the flow, which is my default. And I also really appreciated how you connected karma to the fourth foundation of mindfulness, just so I can um, just see that how I respond to this moment affects what happens next, and to see how I've shaped my experience. So that was really helpful too. Um, at the very end of your talk, what I understood you to say is it kind of in the context of how we respond to this moment in our nation. Um, can we do it without resistance and without wanting things to be different? And I'm like, maybe
Let me make yeah, I better clarify that. Without the belief that things moment should be different. In other words, one of the problems that we have is that we are often in so much resistance to the way things are that we can't skillfully acknowledge what is here and respond to it.
yeah.
The first step of that, of responding skillfully, is to be willing to fully accept that this is the way it is. This moment is the way it is. And then we can respond in a wholesome and skillful way. But as long as we stay attached to it shouldn't be this way, then we're actually saying the natural laws of causes and conditions shouldn't have unfolded in this way. Gravity should not have worked.
Okay.
Can you feel the distinction there?
I
Because
I
this moment leads to possibility. That's but only if we acknowledge we're at this moment.
okay. I I think so. I mean, I can bring a very, tactical example, like, for example, I'm displeased with some of the things that are happening, and so I am giving money to an organization that is, ch challenging the administration.
Great.
So, um, so, is the highest road to do that without preference somehow? I mean, it's like, okay, I
Not
accept or
Mhm. It's to accept that you are responding in this moment in the most skillful way that you know how. But it's also to acknowledge that there are all these infinite conditions that are affecting things. And just you doing that or it's not like it's not a direct one goes to two because we're right here and we do what we want and we can have preference, but we can't um our happiness has to be dependent. This is maybe the key of it. Our happiness has to be dependent on our skillful and wholesome response in this moment, not on we're going to get what we want.
good. That that helps. Thanks very much.
Yeah. And so in let yourself feel the skillfulness and wholesome of every action that you take. Every action, every little thing, every act of kindness, every act of trying to care for those who need caring, for changing things. Let every act of that resonate with the wholesomeness of it. Thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to clarify if I said words that came out that other way. What else? Well, then we'll end, which is fine. It's nice to see you all. I go to Spirit Rock in 2 days and uh, sit in a room and teach 100 people. So it's really nice to just see whatever it is, 16, 17 faces and feel like I'm talking directly to you. That's a real, that's a real treat. A nice coming back into into the teacher seat. So it was really delightful to be here with you all. I saw you didn't all comment, but I saw responsiveness in your faces, and I hope the talk and the meditation were useful to you.
Very much
Any-
so. Thank you so much, Susie. I think we're really lucky to participate with you in your first guided meditation and Dharma talk since your sabbatical. So,
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for the invite and wish you all well. Thanks for your practice. Practice on. We we are needed. We are needed. Our good hearts are needed in the world. So when I say thank you for your practice, I really thank you. Be well.
Thank you so much for the
Thank you
teaching.
so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, and go ahead and unmute everybody and say goodbye. It's nice to hear the voices.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
thank you, Susie.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Susie.
Thank you.
Bye bye, everyone.